Hello, everyone, and today we're going to talk about the fast checkout math skill at work, which is also a game based learning. My name is Abdullah Aidid, and today we're going to presenting a project presentation. So let's start with the introduction. So the background study for this project is the mathematic is one of the difficult subject which is mostly being mentioned among students in the school up until the high school, and also mastering it was because of they actually find very difficult to and struggle to mastering the mathematics skills, which is to understand that. So under knowing that every student which is video game are actually becoming popular or well known among student or youth in these days, so we're going to make an education video games which actually bring an education element into the game, much more engaging, but it's bring a benefit in learning. So the problem statement is the traditional learning involve higher course. I mean, what to mention, especially like learning just to learn mathematics alone actually require every student to have a textbooks or even a learning material, even though all of them actually being given an extra exercises. And not to mention that it's only a temporary, it's not going to be in the long term. They actually keep changing, which actually use much higher cost for that. And learning mathematics has becoming less enjoyment among students. They find mathematics is actually a lot of memorization and repetitive method, which they find it very struggle, and eventually they find less engagement and lose interest into the subject. So the objective for this project is to design a storyboard on the game that could train player onto mathematics skills, to develop a application that could help player improving and learn mathematics skills, and lastly to evaluate the enjoyment of playing games on learning mathematics. So the project significant is that we try to enhance learning mathematics in much through the interactive, such as a game platform, much more interactive, so it will actually increasing the engagement of the game. We try to integrate the mathematic problem with the concept of related world, which is a cashier job, by combining both the element of education and the related problem, which makes the game becomes engaging and fast-paced gameplay, and also the immersive. Both is support the academy and fun through learning the game. So go forward to the literature review. So let's. How about I'm going to introduce what is mathematics. So mathematics is a subject that actually help understanding or determine the answer in solving all the problem around us, which is in, purely involve a pattern or number and even shape. And sometimes the mathematics are actually in, involve the primary school up into the high school, even in university are using the mathematics, and a simple concepts such as addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. So there is a lot of challenge that primary school students are actually facing in during learning mathematics, and one of them is mathematic anxiety. Mathematic anxiety are basically a common fear or stress relates anything that related to mathematic activity or mathematic problem, because it was usually caused by past failure, a negative experience, poor teaching method, and even find especially when they actually being mad by the teacher for being wrong, they actually start to scared to do any mistakes. And other than that, it's actually find very challengeful or difficult for for each student to do to learn mathematics in individual learning. I mean, like every student actually required to reach to their teacher. They find very struggles through that. I mean, they want to learn it by themselves because they actually spend much more by themselves rather than actually have to rely on teacher every single day. And is actually very struggle to and frustrated because they keep disconnecting with the teacher. So the solution is that we try to encourage using game for learning because game actually well known amongst the student or even the youth today, and to make the game much more relatable or enjoyable situation, which make it much more engagement into the experience. And also video games actually provide a cost effective and scalable when it comes to as a material, and even it give a much productive outcomes. So in this case, we're going to use the development model by Te, which is like as you can see right here in the figure I provide, and it consists four elements, four keys element, which is a mechanic, measurement, behavior, and rewards. So moving on to the methodology in this project will be using the game development life cycle, which is basically to a structured way to develop video games from conceptualization to post launch support. It consists of phase rather specific to the challenge phase in the development of the games themselves, which creatively and technically merge the art and science. It consists initiation, pre-production, and then goes to production and way to testing, looping in their area cycle, and then after it done, it will be proceed to the beta testing and finally release. So the pre-production will be specify what is the software requirement, which is the unit going to proceed Unity as a game engine, Blender 3D as a model engine. Audacity is to manipulate any audio related to the game, and Paint.net is to manipulate any image or texture to make it much more suitable for the game. For the hardware requirement for the development is to we suggesting 8 gigabytes DDR4 using the Intel Iris Xe for the graphic cards, Intel Core i5 11 generation for processor, SSD as a storage, and using Windows 10 as an operating system. So this is the flow chart for the game, as you can see right here. And this is how the storyboard will look like in the game. So it'll actually look just like we have been planned right here. And finally, for the testing part, we're going to proceed during the evaluation, which is alpha testing will be only for the internal parts, such as a developer or the internal person for the testing. For the beta testing, we aim to use the system usability scale method, which to aim determine how useful the application is. And our target age will be 10 until 12 years old. The minimum of participant will be 30. So the introduction is we going to we provide a specification for user to play the game. This actually consists in operating system, as you can see right here. So this is the project overall process, how we actually do the project. And this is a project flow, how the game actually works and how the flow chart went by. And are uh, this is the project interface. As you can see right here, this is how the project looks like uh, after the development. And let's proceed to result and analysis. So as I've mentioned before, the evaluation, we will be using the system usability scale, which is quite popular questionnaire among the project. They're actually being designed by John Brooke back in 1986. So during the evaluation for this project, we have collected most of the data, and this is a demographic finding. We find it 30% for 12 years old and 36.7% for 11 years old, and finally 33.3% for the 10 years old. And after doing the evaluation, we came out with the overall finding of just like this. We have collected the score, and then after the calculation based on the formula provided, which is total score divided by 30 times 2.5, we came out with the 56.58 as the total score. And let's come out to the conclusion, the project conclusion. So as a conclusion in this project, overall we have learned that the project will be targeted in for 10 until 12 years old. It was meant for improving mathematics skill, reduces cost, and offer an unlimited problem. So it's actually much more engagement and use really minimal requirements such as keyboard and mouse and even a computer. And project objective is to design a math skill training storyboard, develop a math learning game application, and evaluate the enjoyment of learning mathematics via with a gameplay. And after evaluation, we're using the system usability scale. We came out with a total score of 56.58. So this is the project limitation. Here are the project limitation. The project limitation we have concluded is that it's a looping gameplay mechanics. So looping gameplay mechanics by it means is that the game is actually keep looping the same concept, the same challenge until for the 5 minutes straight until it's done, which make the game much less engagement and boring to play. And of course, which is make less variety. And for the hardware requirement, it's limited to the PC with operating system Microsoft Windows 10, and which is pretty cost for the targeted audience, which is the primary school, and does not support with such as smartphone because most among the targeted user, which is a primary school, usually have smartphone instead of PC. So further update, we're targeting to make it. We try to extend the targeted device scope, which is this gameplay could be developed with which is support for the smartphone to play with, especially Android and iOS, and also we will be optimize the game much better performance. In this way, we can actually extend the targeted device scope and also make the game much more engagement by adding more rewards, bonus, and unlock features, and even add a leaderboard to so the user actually to compare themselves with the other score and try they eventually will try to be better. So without further ado, let's proceed to the gameplay.